Yeah, that's the state here. So that's all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta think about it though. Because you guys have some review. Yes, you definitely could. You absolutely could.
I just don't want to be a
Yes.
Okay, and like I told her, she might even. Yeah, she might even come in. The second, small conversation is actually made.
Yes.
I don't know,
We could do
we do a ceremonial one in January,
you could do it, yes.
but do the official one like.
I wouldn't need to do live stream it. I've seen a couple cities do that.
Oh,
When they live stream it, it's myself,
yeah.
we had two officers in the background.
Yep.
And then on,
Second or third or whatever.
we'll just let her know.
Do the official.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely with the committee assignments, what she said.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, you need to work on that.
It's a little bit more around here.
I know, I think so.
It was bad, bad.
I had a little.
Everyone likes to do the tour, but only in the summer.
Yeah, and not even that.
I'd always volunteer.
I don't.
You have a card?
I do, yeah.
I'd like to get your email.
Yep, I'll grab one for you.
Okay. I might have to leave just a little early.
Sure, no, that's fine.
I gotta be back in Blanco.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, like I said,
Walked over and asked Terry.
I have a separate weekend.
Bring Logan over here.
Well, that's not gonna help anything.
Right.
yeah.
All right, I think we can get started. Thank you everyone for coming. It's gonna be hopefully a really informational afternoon today. For some of you that have been involved in this project in the past with the reuse facility, it's gonna be a little bit of rehash, but for some of the municipalities, new companies that we've invited and county commissioners, some of this information is gonna be brand new. We will have a general discussion at the end of the meeting that can answer pretty much all the questions. That's why the engineers are here. I don't answer engineer smart questions because that's not my field. General housekeeping, there's bathrooms right through the doorway. We're all adults. If you need to take a phone call or whatever, you can go in the back hallway. There's some chairs set up, or downstairs in our library too. It should be pretty quiet. Myself, Kimberly Horn, Uma, and Courtney are both here. and the mayor will be addressing you today. Obviously, you're here for a water reuse facility that is a regional-wide program. So with that, we're gonna have some coffee, water on the table, there's cookies, we'll have sandwiches and a little bit of pasta a little bit later on, because it's an odd time of the day, and I thought everyone would get hungry. So we'll take enough breaks and get you the information that you need. Furthermore, we're recording today's meeting. I'm not guaranteeing that it's gonna be the best recording ever, but we're gonna send that out to you so that you can share it with your partners, your city halls, whoever you need to. We'll also share out the PowerPoint presentation that you have in front of you, and our contact information again, so that if you have questions after the meeting, you can certainly contact myself, or Kim Horn. So with that, I think we're gonna start with the mayor. Mayor Edwards.
Hey, good afternoon. It's great to see everyone here. This is going to be big, and I'm glad you're all here to hear about this, learn more about it, get involved, and get in on the ground floor, which I say that it's really not ground floor. We've been kicking this around, as Kurt reminded me a few minutes ago, probably about 6 years now, and it's kind of waxed and waned, and now we're really moving forward with it because we decided that this is a definitive economic project for us and for the betterment of our community, our county, our region, and we wanted to get everybody in on this now so you can understand where we're going with this. And I really got to thank Michael and Kinley Horn, our engineers. They put a lot of work into this. Kurt, Troy, the rest of you folks, thank you very much. I'm Mayor Rob Edwards, and I just wanted to go over a few things here. We're talking about celebrating our roots, and it's a tribute to the strength and resilience of small town economies in Southwest Minnesota, highlighting the unique qualities that define our communities. And you know, we're all from different communities here, but it is tough out here with our small communities to continue to stay viable and to provide the services that our citizens require. Then we're going to talk about discussing the indispensable role of water and wastewater management in sustaining our daily lives and underpinning the economic well-being of the region. And we'll get into that part, the aspect of it on the economic side of it and the impact that it can have, the positive impact that it can have for all of our communities. Then we're going to talk about identifying key issues affecting our current water and wastewater systems, underscoring the urgency for modernization and improvement. Then we're going to call for a collaborative effort in regional unity to tackle water-related challenges, focusing on innovative solutions to enhance our economies and ensure long-term stability. And with that, we're talking about the water reuse. We have industry, water-heavy usage with our industries and with our natural resource of water, even if we are sitting on an aquifer or two. That's virgin water that we want to keep in the ground for use that when we need it. So we're looking at water reuse and treatment facilities to extend the life of those aquifers and to keep our economies and our communities viable for many, many generations to come. So what we're doing is unveiling the STREAMS initiative, which is Southwest Minnesota Treatment and Reuse for Economies and Advanced Management of Sustainability. Say that 5 times real fast. Setting the stage for transformative approach to water management in southwestern Minnesota. And what that is, you'll hear about it more and more, what we're planning to do or want to do cooperatively with the communities that surround us. What we want to do, our goals and objectives, meeting today's requirements with the state and federal governments and future requirements, again, to keep our communities out here Southwest Minnesota, to keep us sustainable and viable for many, many years to come. And with that, Michael, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mayor Edwards, appreciate it. So we're gonna do some quick introductions, and there's 3 things that we really wanna know: who you are, what municipality or company you work for or are representing, and then one goal that you would like out of this meeting. So I'm Michael Oak, I'm the city administrator here in Winthrop. I don't particularly know everything about wastewater. Troy teaches me things, but I know that it's really important for our industries. And the more and more I learn about it, the more and more I'm really concerned about our region as a whole, doing the right thing. My one goal coming out of this meeting is for people to ask questions. And to learn more about the project and how we can come together as communities to solve problems. Wanna go next? It's okay, they're on the board if you forget.
Homer, Mayor of Brownton. I guess I'm new to this, so I'm here for whatever information we can gather, see where it takes us.
I'm Lori Chashka, I'm the city clerk in Brownton. Yeah, I heard about this a couple months ago, but didn't really know anything about it and got an email and I actually deleted it. And then my public works guy came and said, maybe we should find out more. And I'm gone, so you have to go, so.
Hey, you're right.
Yep.
Hi, Reimers. I'm the Public Works Director for the city of Gaylord. The goal is just to kind of find out more about this whole process and see what it's all going to involve.
Leighton Rose, water and wastewater operator for City of Gaylord. My goal is about the same as his, just learn more and see what we can do to make it work, or if it don't work, figure out how to move forward.
Jennifer Repke with Heartland Corn Products, the ethanol plant. Just starting to be able to possibly visualize a path forward. That's what I'd like to see.
Thank you.
Terry Wendorf, plant manager at Heartland. Yeah, what I'm really interested in seeing is the planning horizon and, you know, what plans are in place, because ethanol industry is a pretty dynamic industry with a lot of rapid growth, so we're looking at future plans. So, you know, a water source is important, as well as, you know, what do we do with the discharge that we have? And if we run out of options for discharge, then we have to plan accordingly and come up with options for recycling within the facility. So there's capital expenditure there. So we just need to know how to plan appropriately, so.
Good, thank you.
I'm Tom Patrick, I'm the CEO of Heartland Corn Products. I think Terry summed up our goals pretty well. I'd maybe just add to his comments that understanding what a potential timeline might look like so that we can plan appropriately is very important to us.
Good, thanks.
I'm Sandy Peterson, Mayor of Lafayette. I guess I'm here to learn what this is all
Alan Fox, Utility Superintendent, Lafayette. Interested in the concept for many years, so see how everything starts to progress and work out. Hopefully it'll be. I'm Brennan Molden from the city of Lafayette. I do wastewater and water treatment.
Kurt Talbert, City of Lafayette, council member, just looking for the information.
Lafayette showed up today. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Keith Saxon, I'm a commissioner representing Winthrop and Gibbon, and just to get information on how to recycle some water.
I'm Brian Reamer with SEH, here representing some of our member cities that we work for in the area. I do a lot of industrial development design, so I've seen these other facilities across North America, including one that was listed as one of the case studies here too. So interested to see how this shakes out and how the structure works.
Good, thank you.
I'm Dawn Wickenhauser, and I'm on the city council here, and just like everybody, wanting to get to know and learn more about this project as it goes.
Logan Anderson, Chief of Police here in Winthrop. I'm also a resident of Brownton, and kind of here as a citizen, I want to see the benefits for both towns.
We didn't put him in here because we thought the meeting was getting rowdy. He's just nosy.
Bobby Zaski with the city of New Auburn, and just here to learn.
I'm Michael Cotterman with the city of New Auburn. I'm a city council member, and I just want to find out more information about the project.
I'm Kurt Reeds, I'm from Arlington. I've been working in water and wastewater operations for a little over 40 years. I worked with New Auburn and worked with Heartland. I worked with Michael's Foods, and I'm sure some of the other people here. Started this about 6-7 years ago with Troy and another operator. We started asking ourselves, what if we could get a zero discharge facility and reuse water? And we met UMA at that time, and we've been going at it ever since.
Mayor Rob, you heard from me already.
Peter Koch, County Commissioner, worked for Michael Foods for 30 years, and we looked at a lot of things, what we're doing with the water that we were discharging. very clean water they discharge, and yet we throw it down the ditch and Heartland pumps it out of the ground, and other places pump it out of the ground. It just doesn't make sense. Our aquifers got only so much in it, and I'm here to hopefully we can move forward.
Doesn't make sense, that's all.
Troy Martin, Public Works Director, City of Winthrop. I'm here.
Jerry Fritz with Dairy Farmers of America, just information gathering as well.
Senator Glenn Grunegan, District 17. I represent Sibley, McLeod County, Bardic Harbor, and Cokato and Dassel, which is a little bit of Meeker and Wright. And I would say that, I've been down at the legislature for over 12 years now. And rural Minnesota, the wastewater issue is a crisis and a huge issue for small communities to be able to afford. So I certainly look to be supportive of what you come up here with. It is encouraging to see so many people trying to work together. Hopefully something that will work out together cost effectively and to be able to solve a critical issue for your citizens.
Glenn, you're here so it does work out cost effectively.
I'll remember that.
Okay, that's my first ask. I won't be asking for it.
Colin Grams, Michael Foods Wastewater, and more information.
Darren Reed, Michael Foods, I'm wastewater manager, just here to gather information and as much out of it we can.
Good, thanks for coming.
And I'm Courtney Carr with Kimley Horn, water wastewater engineer. Definitely passionate about water as a resource, so happy to be here and help answer any questions that you guys have.
Uma Vempadi from Kimley Horn, supporting Winthrop and then
The talking heads.
Tommy Maturity, City of Winthrop. Help do whatever needs to be done.
Chris Barron, City of Winthrop.
Tina, we're introducing ourselves since you came in late.
Wonderful. Did I show up late? Put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm Dana Woods, I'm the city administrator with the city of Gibbon.
I'm Jason Reddick, City of Gibbon Public Works.
So what I really heard is, we've been working on this for a long time. So for some of you, you've maybe heard bits and pieces about this project since 2018. In 2018, we hired an engineering firm to really help our industries, right? That's the whole sole purpose of the project in 2018 was to encompass what our industries needed, which was water sourcing. So in the early stages of this project, this was really to help industries grow within Winthrop. As we marched down the line, we did a conceptual study. We've actually done phase 1 and phase 2 of a smaller reuse facility already. Those were performed right before COVID. And as you can imagine, we hit 2020 and 2021, and the project went on this really big pause. And when I was hired on in 2021, in December of 21, it was one of the largest projects on my radar, was the reuse facility. And there was a couple reasons why. Number one, as all of the towns here can represent, our infrastructure with wastewater is aging, and it's aging quickly. And we have more I&I than probably anyone wants, right? So wastewater became a huge issue, but also we want to support our industries, and we want them to stick around, right? They could pick up, I guess, and leave if they really wanted to and build somewhere else. So how do we make them expand, give better jobs in our area? So about to 2020, we kind of stopped. In 2022, again, we picked up where we left off. We found Uma, again, at Kimley Horn. And Kurt and myself and Troy really started talking about the possibilities of the project, where we needed to go next, and what our next steps were. So fast forward about a year, we had had great conversations with Kimley Horn. Yes, the project was doable. We have a lot of examples. And we started meeting with regulators at the state. So we started talking to MPCA, and we started talking to the DNR. And we started talking to different elements that basically told us, hey, if you could do this for just one small area, what would would happen if you regionalized the thing and it became more cost effective for every single town around you to send their wastewater to one facility, rather than building 5 to 7 facilities all over the region? So that's kind of why we invited everyone to the table, because this conversation can't just stop here today. This is gonna be a conversation that we're gonna have to get in front of with city council in multiple jurisdictions. We're really gonna have to work together, because as you'll see later on in the presentation, there is a timeline. We're not just gonna sit on the project forever anymore. We're gonna move forward. We think we have a really good plan. Kimley Horn has put together some great plans, some feasibility concepts that we're gonna talk about today. But that was really the timeline of where this has been sitting. So since 2018, we've kind of spun our wheels and said, is this possible? Yeah, it's possible, but who's gonna be helping and who's gonna be in charge? And all that stuff has still got worked out now that we're augmenting the project into something a little bit bigger and regionalizing it. But the concept is still the same, right? We're gonna take dirty water, wastewater, and we're going to run it through a mill. See what I mean when I'm talking about engineering? And we're gonna clean it enough for potable water for industries, right? That's the whole concept about this. So as you learn more and more, and as Uma puts it in engineering terms, which some of you will be able to translate to me later on, you know, this timeline is really gotta get going, because there's no time like the present, and no one's infrastructure is getting newer. So our current status is what I'm hearing from everyone around us, and as we started poking our head, by the way, Kurt and Troy did a wonderful job going to industries, going to different towns, speaking to public works directors, so thank you for that work. I really appreciate it. And what we heard from everyone is that we have an infrastructure that in most towns is not really suitable to even be running anymore. Some of us, some industries, even have problems with permitting with the MPCA. We're running on very old permits, and that's kind of where our current status is. And when we talk about growth for industries, you know, this is not just a Heartland Corn Products project. This is about all of us, all the towns, making sure that we're responsible for wastewater. When we help industries grow in our area, we become a better beacon of possibilities for new industries to come to us. So whether the plant is here or in Brownton, right? Brownton actually benefits from the plant, because that industry could go to Brownton, pump into their system, and all their wastewater comes to the one facility that is regionally ran. And so when we talk about like, well, you know, this is only gonna benefit one town, that's absolutely not the point of this concept. So I wanted to blow that out of the water right away, is that this could really help all of you. Because this is a regional facility, it'll take wastewater and recycle it. It benefits everyone when we're advertising for businesses. Challenges ahead, so I already talked about that. We have super old aging infrastructure. So the risk of fragmented approaches. So Dana can probably attest to this. If there hasn't been one meeting where I said, man, we need to regionalize services, I don't know. I just, every meeting I go to, I'm like, why are we doing this so complicated? Why? So there's gonna be less labor force in the future, right? There's less people now than there ever has been in the workforce. And we have an obligation to make a system that's actually gonna be functional and working. So we build one plant, make it run for multiple towns, and that helps everyone, because we'll not need labor in every single town running one plant, so that they can actually fix other things in town, right? They can fix the streets, and they can go after bigger projects in town. But I think the other problem is financing. So if we all combined our efforts and went to the legislature in one bill with the scope of this project, in the long term, we will actually save millions of dollars for our taxpayers. And I mean millions. And it also, you know, stops that whole, well, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna, you know, that conversation just stops. This plant takes care of all your wastewater facility needs. You know, when we talk about streams, we talk a lot about wastewater, but really there's a lot of economic benefits. I wish Lisa Hughes was here. She was supposed to attend, she had a conflict with the meeting. And maybe Uma can touch on it during his presentation, but when we're talking about data facilities and, you know, Meta opening up facilities in Minnesota, one of the top things that they're needing is what? Water. And one of the top things that they're looking for is a sustainable source. And that comes now from our reuse facility. And so we look better, in any one of our communities, we look better because we have that and we've built it. And it's functional, right, for our industries to take the water. And I think when we talk about streams, we talk about a regionalization partnership that really hasn't been shown in a rural area in Minnesota. Uma will show you some examples of really great ones near our areas, but they're mostly metro-centric. This would be one of the first real rural area ones that combines multiple cities. And that we're not just designing a wastewater plant, we're designing a reuse facility. So there are some examples where towns, you know, shove all their waste to one area, treat it, and get rid of it. But this would be a rural example for all of Minnesota. And I think that's what we want to do, right? We can advertise that on an economic development basis and a sustainability water basis. So Uma is going to come up and talk more about the different examples of facilities that would relate to this, so that you guys know that this isn't pie in the sky stuff. This is actually happening right now.
Yes, thanks, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Uma.
So when Michael asked, okay, are there any case studies, something similar to what we are conceptualizing that was done elsewhere, right? So that's when we kind of looked at, different parts of the country and then also globally, what other similar but more bigger facilities, utilities are doing, more advanced water reuse sort of things. So I put together a few case studies, and that's what we're gonna quickly look into, so that you have some understanding of where it was done, what were the benefits that these individual utilities saw as part of the project, right? So first one is the Fargo Regional Water Reclamation and Effluent Reuse Facility. So Fargo, North Dakota, this is kind of in our backyard. Before 2006, so as you can see, these dark green ones, some industrial users and hardwood, oxbow and cast over water. So them and the Fargo, city of Fargo wastewater plant got together. They have a wastewater treatment plant going on. However, there was a lot of smaller cities like a Frontier, Briarwood, and then other cities that were listed there. They have their own individual lagoon facilities, basically. So they are having their own individual treatment plants. But the future compliance, like with the upcoming regulations at that time, and then also with the lagoons order issues and all that. So they thought, okay, how about if we regionalize and then get connected to Fargo wastewater treatment plant? And then as you can see, there were some I&I issues as well for those smaller communities. And then in addition to that, all these smaller cities saying that, hey, how do we connect to Fargo wastewater plant and then be able to meet our regulations, kind of forget about our wastewater. Fargo takes care of it. There was an ethanol plant in the proximity of Fargo. They were looking for water appropriations, kind of very similar, right? They were looking for water appropriations. So they approached their DNR and then, hey, your water scarce area, Red River Valley basically, so can you look at some other resources? So they went and talked to Fargo wastewater treatment plant, and that's when the things started rolling. So the project was basically 17.5 MGD regional water reclamation facility.
What does MGD mean?
Million gallons per day.
Thanks.
So those many million gallons in a day is being treated, of which 1.4 million gallons per day effluent reuse facility. So basically, the reuse that we are talking about here, so they are doing that for 1.4 million gallons out of the 17.5 million gallons per day. And they built two 26-mile pipelines to the ethanol treatment facility. And then once the use is happened in the ethanol plant, and then there is a pipe coming back to the Fargo wastewater plant to treat that water. So because of that, there was a regionalization of the wastewater, and not all these individual cities don't have to find skilled operators, and then basically Fargo is taking care of all those, and then it is supporting the industrial growth and then positive economic impact. So that is one very similar example, but not at the scale that we are looking at. We'll be talking about the scale with all these cities that we have here, but this is bigger scale, 17.5, which is in our backyard.
Uma, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So out of that 17, they got 1.4 million gallons. Is there always an appropriate percentage attributed to the wastewater coming into the facility that can be reused? Or is it based on how many pollutants and how many, is it gonna be different in every situation, or is the ratio usually the same?
No, it's actually 17.5 and 1.4. I don't think that is the ratio that is applicable to every situation. Basically, the ethanol plant said, okay, we need 1.4 MGD. So that's how they made the effluent facility, reuse facility 1.4. But let's say there is another industry that comes in and then says, hey, we are looking for reused water. They can definitely expand that plant. And then to the second part of your question, yes, how much wastewater that is coming into the plant, there are going to be some water losses through the process. Not 100% goes in, goes out. So there are going to be some losses and all that. So you can only retrieve a certain percentage depending upon the water quality or wastewater quality that you are getting in.
So my follow-up question to that is, they could actually recycle and reuse way more, but they choose not to, because they don't have anywhere to put it.
Exactly. And then if you're treating more, let's say you're treating entire 17.5 through the reuse facility, you gotta put in effort. Basically, you have to pay for treatment.
Right.
If there is no need on the other end, then why should we treat? We only treat whatever is needed. So that's what they're doing here. Right?
So how much better do you have to treat it for the ethanol plant? Creating potable water, or are you just creating fairly clean water?
Sure. Typically, in this case, for example, we have been in conversations with HCP. We are asking them, hey, what kind of water quality you are looking for? And then they are giving us that criteria. And then our conceptual estimates are based on that water quality that they're looking for. But typically, it's not the potable water quality that the HCP looks for. It's a kind of, potable water is obviously, if you want to convert, which we'll be talking later, if you want to convert the wastewater to potable standards, there needs to be further more treatment. So here is a second example. It's not a full-blown project yet, but there is a facility, in Twin Cities. There is an entity, Met Council Environmental Services. They have 9 wastewater treatment plants, and this is one of them, Empire Wastewater Treatment Facility. So it serves Fairmont, and then some of the Rosemont, Fairmont, and some of the area in that Twin Cities area. So what they did was, in 2018, they said, hey, can we take the wastewater that we are treating here, can we convert that to reuse standards? So they did a study in 2018, and they just left it there. All they did was just a study. And then since they performed the study, the project and the area, the Umore Park area, is becoming is becoming an attractive site for industries to come there and then establish their facilities. Because the reuse aspect is there. So a lot of data centers, including Meta or you name the tech companies, they are interested in taking that reused water, wastewater that is treated for beneficial reuse. They want to use that for their cooling operations and stuff. So just by performing a study, that site is becoming more attractive. Okay. So this is the third study, case study. This, when we talk about regionalization, it doesn't need to be in one state. Actually, this project is in between two countries. So Mexico and United States in Arizona is doing this project. So right now, this is I'm the project manager, so I can tell you the details as well if you got any questions. So Arizona needs water. Hey, where can we find water? And in Mexico, south of the border, there is a lack of treatment capabilities. So they want to get rid of wastewater. How do we get rid of wastewater? So there was a decision made by International Border Water Commission, headquartered in El Paso, in early 2000s, to build an interceptor from Mexico and then bring that water to Nogales in Arizona, and then they built a plant in early 2000s. It's a 15 MGD plant. So now, fast forward, we are 20 years later, Mexico wants to send more wastewater. They want to get rid of all the septic systems with the smaller entities and all that. They want to send more wastewater up north to Nogales, Arizona. And then at the same time, there is a mining company in Arizona that is looking for water appropriations, meaning they want to pull water from the ground for their mining operations in Arizona. So they approached ADEQ, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, and they said, hey, we're already water scarce state, we can't give you more appropriations. So they came to know about this project. They approached IWBC, International Border Water Commission, and ADEQ, and they said, hey, how about we help the wastewater plant expand from 15 MGD to 35 MGD, so that Mexico can get rid of their wastewater, the plant gets more, plants gets expanded, and then the water can go into our US creeks, basically. And then the ADEQ basically said, hey, if you do that, we're gonna give you more appropriations. So that is helping the industrial growth and the sustainability as well. So that project right now is in 60% design phase. So the next one, Hamilton Road Sanitation District, they came up with a program called SWIFT program. It's in Virginia. So 20 cities and counties came together, and then they said, hey, we gotta protect our water resources. And also, as they were pulling water from the ground, basically the aquifers and then the land basically getting crunched, because when you are taking the water out, there's a void, and then the ground is sinking, and then the sea levels are raising, basically. So how do we combat that? So all these 20 cities came together, and they said, let's do this program. There are 13 wastewater treatment plants totaling 249 MGD. They came up with this program called SWIFT, Sustainable Water Initiative for Tomorrow. And then as part of the research phase, they basically are treating the wastewater to reuse standards, and they're injecting that water into the aquifer, back into the aquifer. Okay? And then their 2030 target is 100 MGD. 100 MGD of wastewater treated to reuse standards, injected back into the ground. Because of that, they're able to combat the sea level rises, eliminating surface water discharges, and also they are helping the groundwater aquifers basically. And then another one on the West Orange County Water District, similar thing, similar to SWIFT program, Hampton Roads. They are doing 130 MGD, putting the water back into the groundwater aquifers. So they built their largest water purification plant for indirect particle reuse. Very similar to Hampton Roads, but it's on the West Coast, Orange County. Another one on the West Coast, San Diego. They came up with, similar to, all these programs have a targeted focus point that they have. San Diego's is pure water. Hampton Roads is a SWIFT, and then ours is streams. I think you got it. So basically what they did was, by 2035, San Diego wants half of their water supply coming from the reuse. So that is their target. So the project is progressing as they are planning. So basically, as you can see in this graphic here, when we, at the top, water reclamation plant means basically the wastewater plant. And then they take that and the non-potable reuse, they use it for irrigation and industrial, but they treat it to pure water facility by using a pure water facility, and they send it to the reservoirs, and then those reservoirs become source for the drinking water treatment plant, and then they send it to the homes, residential and all that, and then goes back to the wastewater treatment plant. So they want to do this as a cycle. Okay. So that is how the San Diego facilities are operating right now. Last one on the global scale, I'm not gonna spend too much time. Singapore, they actually get water supply from Malaysia, another country, completely. So they want to stop relying on other countries for their water supply. So they are thinking about 430 million gallon facilities. So in the future, by 2035 or 2040, they want to treat half of the wastewater that is produced in Singapore using the treatment reuse standards basically. So as you can see, there are multiple case studies. There may be some smaller towns came together and they formed a district, and then they are treating the wastewater using the district facilities. However, there is a unique opportunity for all of us here to come together, not only treat the wastewater, but also treat it to the reuse standards, and then encourage the economic and industrial growth. So that is the opportunity here.
So we're just going to talk about the effects of infrastructure and water when it comes to our communities. So I know when I first heard this project, I was like, this is the most pie in the sky thing I've ever heard. And if it's so doable, why aren't we doing it? And then that's why I asked Uma to put together a list of places that it's already happening. They're taking wastewater and purifying it to drinking water in many places. We would be far ahead of the curve. especially in a rural area. So what that gets to us is that, we would have an opportunity to have robust infrastructure in a very rural area, which looks good for all industries, and would help us grow. We also have this skilled workforce problem in the rural areas that, we talk about a lot. I was actually asking Jerry about EFA's, are you having troubles hiring still, or that's probably not gonna go away anytime soon. So if we can get a skilled labor force that is much smaller, but running one facility versus 7, we'll be, much, much better. And these are just basic quality things of life. Sibley East just recently built a school, GFW is building a new school. These are things that people are just coming to expect. Industries are the same way. They're expecting a reused facility in order to build there. It is just it's one of their top 10 things that they're looking for. How are you getting your electricity, and how are you getting your water? And if it's not part of a plan of either renewable energy or addressing water scarcity, they don't want to have anything to do with the new project. And I don't know if the industry partners were aware of this, or maybe the towns, but when we were talking to the DNR, one of the things that they said is, we were in such a bad drought this year that they almost shut our water portions down. Like, ethanol plant wouldn't have been able to run. They were 6 days away from shutting us down. So when we hear about that, and no one talks about it, but we are in a very water scarce area. And so we're gonna continue to build homes for young families to attract new workforce. We're gonna have to have something to help with that. And so that's what our water and reuse focus is so important, right? It really helps with all of those areas when it comes to infrastructure and things that young families want in their areas, things that businesses want in their areas. It comes from streams, accessible to sustainable water sources. And our treatment facility and our regional watershed would greatly benefit from that project. So I'm gonna pause really quick and see if we have questions for myself or Uma, because we just went through a lot of information, especially the examples. And we'll try to answer them the best we can. Any questions?
Yeah, just a quick, we haven't gotten to, are you gonna get to the financing?
Yes,
Oh,
we'll get there soon.
I just, because ultimately that's what it comes down to, right? But
Yeah.
my understanding is that correct, the MPCA is supporting this, Minnesota MPCA?
Yeah, when we had direct conversations with their planning program advisors, they were very in favor of a facility like this in the region.
And then, does the MPCA, do they have access to any federal grants to help with the cost too?
Yeah, we'll go over those funding mechanisms,
Okay.
when we talk about how much it's gonna cost. And I think, for the MPCA too, this actually has a lot to do with permitting on their side. They would rather have one permit to control versus the 17 that are in our area for each industry and city. It would be much easier to control. And then, they get the results that they want. They can control the fluorides, the manganese, how much we're discharging. They control all of that through one plant instead of the 17 that encompass our area.
What would, above anything else, what would the effect be of any of the communities with their current water collection systems? What are does that mean that we don't have to have engineers on our own staff? You're gonna have one engineer somewhere else, or how is that gonna affect all of our individual facility workers?
Yeah. I think the question is would you have to eliminate jobs in order to buy into this facility. Is that what you're?
Maybe, yeah, that's part of it.
No, in fact, we'll need them here. We'll need them at a facility and or reuse them somewhere else. You know, a lot of wastewater people, can do other things. In fact, many do, right? And so, no, I don't think that that would eliminate them. In fact, you're still gonna need them.
Yeah, and I'll just add, within the city, you will still have your own collection system. And then, there may be, you may have one or two lift stations. And then, you know, we'll talk in the next slide, there is gonna be one lift station if the gravity doesn't work, if the water doesn't flow down the pipe, then we need a lift station, things like that. I mean, I'm just saying that we haven't decided anything, but all those components within your city boundaries, if you want to say, those still need to be operated by city employees, basically, if you want to say that. And then once it gets out to the regional wastewater plant, let's say, if we go that road, then there will be an entity that is managing this, all the collection system from the boundaries of the cities all the way to water reuse facilities. That answers your
So the water reaches the end of Rocky city limits, then it becomes somebody else's power.
That is just me thinking out loud, but you guys need to come and decide that, right? You know, so it's yeah.
You would have to tax bikers, I mean, you know.
It'd be
You just have a meter coming in here and saying, hey, Gaylord's got 200,000, Michael Foods got 400, Williams got 100.
Yeah. We would meter, it would have to be metered.
Definitely, all those details need to be figured out among all the stakeholders.
But like Uma is saying, you still have your city, pipes and infrastructure that your city employees currently now will
Right.
still have to handle.
Right.
And I think they're better to address. I mean, just because we're pumping all the wastewater somewhere else doesn't address the need to, you know, scope and monitor all of your other infrastructure. You know, your sewer system, I'm sure, has holes in it, like ours does. Those things would still need to be addressed.
Yeah, so this
Nap
is,
time.
yeah. Good segue with all the questions. So, this is very conceptual level map that we put together, and then you have it in your handout as well. So what we thought was, Fairfax will be pumping into, let's say we put a lift station in Gibbon. Fairfax to Gibbon, and then Gibbon to a central lift station number 1 is what we are calling. And then Fairfax and Gibbon will come to the central lift station, number 1. And then Brampton will come to lift station 1. And then Gaylord will have a lift station, but at the same time, New Auburn will get to the same lift station number 2, and they both will be sending their wastewater to the reuse facility here. At this time, we are calling it Advanced Water Reclamation Facility. Names may change down the road. Let's say, and then Lafayette will send their wastewater to lift station 1. So all those wastewaters, including HCP and the DFA, they will all convene at the AWRF, Advanced Water Reclamation Facility. And those will be treated. And then similar to the Fargo example that I mentioned before, the entire wastewater will be treated. However, depending upon the reuse need at that time, the reuse treatment facility will be treating that wastewater that was treated and then sent it to, you know, whoever, whatever the industry that is looking for. So that is the plan. And then approximately, when we added all the wastewater that is being produced from these different cities, we came up with 5 MGD capacity, 5 million gallons per day. And then depending upon, your city's industrial plan, let's say you are planning on, attracting an industry and that may have X LGD that will be sent to this facility, we want to take all that into account so that we are planning this facility at the right magnitude, whether it is 5 MGD or 6 MGD. And then in a little while, we're gonna talk about the schedule as well. The last thing obviously that we want is, let's say we build this 5 MGD, we don't want to turn around and then start designing and building again in like 2 months, right? I think you understand that. So we want to get there with the reasonable planning horizon in mind, whether it is 10-year plan or 15-year plan or whatever, and we want to design that facility to that capacity. Okay, so that is the overall, and each individual city, and then the information that Kurt and Troy gathered as far as the average flows and all that, they are all in there. So that is what we are thinking conceptually. So for that, for the things that we are talking about, we put together a random order of magnitude cost estimate, ROM cost estimates. And then in this cost estimate, what we did was, if you see the map, at every city, we're including a lift station, right? At every city, at the outskirts of the city, we are putting one lift station. So from that lift station, including that lift station, all the pipelines, and then the central lift stations like 1, 2, and 3 that we are showing on the map, and the advanced water reclamation facility. All those are the infrastructure pieces that we counted when we put together this random order of magnitude cost estimate. So pumping, we're kind of thinking, because we are at that 50,000 foot level estimate, we want to give a little bit of a range rather than, hey, this is gonna cost this much. So pumping, 5 to 10 million. Conveyance, all the pipelines that we are thinking, from individual cities to the AWRF, 60 to 80 million. And the treatment itself, 35 to 60 million. So that's what we are thinking. Conveyance, all these pipelines may seem, hey, how are we going to build all these pipelines? But I just want to point out to you that Fargo case study that we did, that I presented. There was an ethanol plant and Fargo effluent reuse facility. They built 26-mile pipelines to and back. So at that scale, this is not too significant.
Uma, can you answer the question that I'm sure, how much does a regular treatment facility cost for each town? If every one of the towns decided that they were gonna go build their own facility, how much approximately would that cost them?
Sure. Definitely, I want to rely on the engineers as well. Feel free to chime in. I'm thinking with the nutrient regulations that may come up, like nitrogen and phosphorus, and in this area, chlorides is one of the issues as well. So taking all those into consideration, depending upon the size of the city, I want to say 10 to 15 or 15 to 20 million. And then especially when we are going after getting rid of the lagoons and then maybe going after mechanical treatment plants and things like that, they may have to get rid of the lagoons and then put the mechanical facility. That's what we are thinking. And then there is no reuse to that and all that kind of stuff. Anything that you want to add based on your involvement in the cities?
No, that's kind of the neighborhood I was expecting.
Okay, yeah, cool. So yeah, so if if we're talking, I don't know, like the 7 cities coming together 7 times, and I'm at the higher end, but let's make it round figure, 20 million. That's 140 million right there, just for the treatment. And then there is no reuse component to it.
Thank you.
So these are the, Senator, this is the funding resources sheet. And then this is not all and everything that is available that is not included on the sheet, but we did decent research on what are the different funding mechanisms that are available. Typically EPA and Senator, MPCA typically relies on Public Facilities Authority, PFA, to get the SRF loans, state revolving loan funds. So basically that is the first one. SRF loans or grants are available for something like this. USDA, a Rural Development Water and Waste Disposal Loan Grant Program, that is also available for projects similar to this. One thing that I want to say, how we tackle the funding resources is some topic that we need to further discuss, right? Like for example, depending upon how we break the projects. This is a gigantic project, but there may be smaller projects, like a lift station in one individual city. That may be a project, and the pipeline may be another project, things like that. And then when we are breaking those into smaller pieces, can we go after individual funding programs to get advantage of the funding programs, basically? So we need to think about that. And then PFA has Water Infrastructure Fund that is supported by USDA RD program. And then Public Facilities Authority Point Source Implementation Grant, PSIG. One example that I want to give is City of Marshall Municipal Utilities. They recently did a reverse osmosis plant on the water side, drinking water side. It was a $9 million project, construction project. $7 million was issued from the PSIG funding. So those kind of funds are available. And then on the national scale, Bureau of Reclamation, Water Reclamation and Reuse Program, they award up to $20 million for projects like this. And the Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart Grants, Community Development Block Grants. DEED has some programs for economic growth and things like that. DNR grants, MPCA grants. MPCA sometimes they have special grants other than SRF for projects like this. And the last one, state bonding bills is another one that we can rely on. And the last one is public-private partnership that I just put it there. So the contractor, cities, and the operator firm can come together and then do some sort of a public-private partnership. So the contractor finances the project at the beginning, but then there is a mechanism how he's gonna get that money back and all that kind of stuff. In my experience, I don't think this was done in the upper Midwest, but it's done in the South and East Coast and West Coast. But I don't know that is possibility or not, but as long as I'm putting all the funding sources, I thought about just putting that also on the slide. Okay. Any questions?
So has any type of applications been applied for any of these particular areas?
No, not yet.
Okay. So how, session starts February 12th. If we want to look at a bonding issue, how do we know the amount to bond for? And I know there's a number of hoops that's got to be gone through, but if we don't know what money is coming from these other grant areas?
Yeah, that, again, that is something that we still have a lot of engineering to do on the
Yeah.
front side of this. And that really comes down to the cities and partners saying yay or nay to the project. If they don't want in, we have to move forward. And so then we'll know how much we go forward with.
Well, and just one additional comment that generally, you know, this session starts February 12th. This is they call it the non-funding, but we spend money anyway. But it does sound like we're gonna have another bonding bill. And usually the bonding bill comes up at the end of that session, like it did last session. It came up in the last 2 weeks. You know, it's talked about the whole session, but it actually comes up, which would be at the end of May. But I mean, to me, there's a lot of things that kind of fall into place here.
Yeah, I don't think,
Yeah, definitely, if I can
yeah, go ahead.
add, so as Michael said, we were at the very conceptual level. We're in the infancy stages of this whole thing. And, you know, as we were putting this together, you know, like almost like 3 weeks ago, I think, we thought, okay, we can't wait any longer. So originally we were kind of thinking, okay, let's get some more meat to our concept and then present it to all of you. But then, because of the timelines and all that, we thought about, you know, we should just bring you on board and then you know, kind of explain where we are and then see what your interest levels are and things like that.
Yeah, we were trying to get to an area where we could springboard these ideas off the rest of the communities. And I don't think any of us dreamed that we would have requests for a bonding. We have a lot of engineering to do. I mean, we'll go through the timeline in a little bit, but I don't think we're there yet. But we do know that these funding sources will be available in the future.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so in the schedule, at least based on the first funding source, SRF, MPCA, and obviously PFA, they told us that June 30th, 2024 is the deadline. You know, so that is, we know that as for sure, but we still need to go through others and then also whatever we need to do to meet the state bonding bill timeline. I would love to know that and then see how we can expedite to get the information on the table. You think that's right? Michael already mentioned some of the benefits of this initiative. Very quickly, I'm going to go through those. Future regulatory compliance. If we don't do this together now, you know, down the road, whether they are nutrients, you know, like the nitrogen and phosphorus, these are the limits in the wastewater, and then chlorides and things like that. We need to address them at individual city. So every city is going to get a newer regulation, and then you need to manage that, whether you can do it with lagoons or you need to put a mechanical treatment plant, like we talked about, individual wastewater treatment plants in every city needs to come up. Having this regional facility kind of streamlines that. You don't need to worry about it. It's all on that one entity to take care of those future regulations. One thing, the second one is skilled operators. Operating a lagoon versus operating a, let's say, a mechanical plant, advanced plant, nutrient removal plant, or something like that, requires extra level of certification for the operators. So you need to hire those people. And then water wastewater operators is a very rare now. I mean, cities are finding it very difficult to find those operators right now. Okay. At least my resource, you know, talking to St. Cloud Community Technical College, every day in the country there is 125 operators that are retiring, but we are not putting them back in, skilled operators. So that is the extent that we are in right now. So if you have your own wastewater treatment plant, especially in southwest Minnesota, how are we going to retain and attract those professional operators that are at a higher skill level than operating at the lagoons, basically? And scale of operations and the shared infrastructure. Reduced cost per unit of treated water. So if you treat your water at your individual cities versus if you compare those costs, combine all those costs, and if you treat that same water with all this infrastructure that we are talking about at a centralized facility, you're gonna save money by doing it centrally rather than decentralized. Okay? Reduced capital investments for cities, self-explanatory. Optimized operational costs are gonna be down rather than having multiple treatment plants. Efficient use and reuse of water resources. This is crucial for water scarcity. We looked at all the case studies. And then attract new industries and support expansion. Like all the case studies that I talked about, especially the one in the Twin Cities, Empire Wastewater Treatment Plant. There was an article in Star Tribune, I think 3 or 4 months ago. It was public, but Meta is planning on establishing their facility in Rosemont, right? And then there are a couple of other ones. If Lisa Hughes was here, she would have mentioned like the data centers. You know, Minnesota is becoming very attractive for these tech giants and then data centers, basically, because they see that if they go to west or east coast, they can't just get enough water that they're looking for. If they come here, and then if you show them that there is this reuse opportunity, that is the first thing that they're looking for. So industries can be attracted. And then last but not least, we heard it from multiple regulatory agencies, funding agencies, that if you do the regional effort, the chances of getting funding are better than doing it individual. Okay? So that is another benefit. You want to go, Michael?
Yeah, sure. So this is a rough timeline. And this came from the MPCA, working with them. So in June of this year, we plan to submit our preliminary engineering report to MPCA, which they will review and get back to us. It'll take about a year to design. That's just because engineers take so long. And at that time, in 2024-25, that's when we're gonna go after funding. So, and Senator Gruenhagen's response, I guess my response is, it won't be this year. It will definitely be next year that we go asking for money. But you know, even like USDA and rural development funding, that takes quite a bit of time to just get through. That'll take 6 months of just review. So 24-25 is when we do that. Once we have the funding and we have our mechanisms and all the towns and industries have decided, like, this is it, and we're getting tons of grants and we have the funding mechanisms in place, then we'll start constructing. And it'll be a while. It takes about 2 years to construct. We think that's a good timeline for all the pipe to be laid, for the reuse facility to actually be built. And then it'll be a slow start, with a slow startup. You know, commissioning it, we're not just gonna turn the faucet on and watch it all explode on us. So just like all opening industries, you know, you do a soft start, and so that'll be about a year, fine tuning things, making sure that the equipment's running right, making sure that the pipes are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then in 2029, which seems so far away, but it's really, really not. It's really not. 2029 is when we were hoping to be fully operational, feeding reuse facility water to our industries and taking care of all the wastewater in our region. So that's kind of the timeline that we're looking at. So as you can see, June really is our deadline to MPCA to say, this is what we're gonna go forward with. So for the city officials and public works directors and industries, if you're wondering, are we gonna kick this around for another 3 years? No, we're not. We plan to have most of our engineering and information to MPCA in June, so that means that, by January, February, we really need to know what's going on. So that timeline, that's why this meeting just had to happen. We wanted a more perfect meeting, we wanted all the answers, but we really need answers from all of you in order to make, ooh, who is it? Oh, we should have answered it. Asked her about poop water. Oh, yeah. So we really need answers at the beginning of this year, and that's why we're bringing it to you today. So we are gonna take a quick break, and while we're on break, we have the maps of your areas. They go by lift stations and the regional map. And then we wanna come back to really a discussion from you all. And any questions that you have, we'll be able to hopefully answer. We put these questions forward, and you can certainly review them, they're in your packet. And we'll discuss them when you come back, or any other questions that you have. There's water, coffee, I'll put out some buns, and Jenny's cooked for us today, it wasn't me. And some cookies, so help yourself. Okay?
Well, that's just as well.
Our town, when we moved, it wasn't top level, but it is now. We still run our town. You can't explain to
Yeah.